What's up everybody? My name is Ben. I'm coming back with another video. Today we're going to talk about the iPhone 14. Is this phone worth it now in 2024? Let's take a deep dive into it and see how it's doing. Now the iPhone 14 came out in 2022 alongside the iPhone 14 Pro, of course. On the outside it looks identical to the iPhone 13. There's no way to tell the difference between this and the iPhone 13 just from the outside, unless you get one of the unique color options. But what's on the inside is especially special about the iPhone 14. If you happen to break the back glass on it, it's easier to replace than the iPhone 13 because you can easily remove the back panel. And also, along with removing that back panel, you can replace the battery from the back, far easier than the iPhone 13 or any of the iPhones that came before it. So that is a plus, but obviously it's not something that many people care about if you're just looking at the phone itself. However, the iPhone 14 does include some improvements from the iPhone 13, namely in the camera. This is the same camera sensor from the iPhone 13 Pro the year before, so it is upgraded from the iPhone 13. The A15 chip that's on the inside of it has more graphics cores, so it's slightly more powerful. So it is a better phone than the iPhone 13, although it does look exactly the same and at the end of the day is the same phone. So how do all those improvements, how does that experience translate into the day-to-day life of the iPhone 14? And now I think this is where the iPhone 14 really shines, is just in the day-to-day life with it. So let's dive right into it. And the iPhone 14 is very fast. Of course, it has that A15 Bionic chip, which is now coming up on 3 years old. But just as you swipe around it and as you use the phone, it's very smooth, it's responsive. There's really not a lot of lag to it. Of course, if you're coming from an iPhone that has the ProMotion display, there's gonna be little things here and there that make you feel like, okay, this is a little slow, and there is a little bit of jitteriness to it. But using iOS 17 on this phone has been a complete joy. And in addition to the performance being good, the battery life has also been fantastic. Now I am sitting at 100% battery health on this phone, but using it day to day, I have had all day battery life. I've essentially reached the end of most days with still 60 to 70% of my battery, which is absolutely, it's phenomenal, and you don't even have to worry about battery life on this phone. Another piece of this phone that's surprisingly competent is the camera. Now I went out and just took some photos around so we can look at them together. Here's a photo of the concrete and you can see the detail in it. It looks very nice. Then there's a photo just of a door, and as you look around the edges of this photo, you can see there's not a lot of grain, there's not a lot of detail loss in the photo. Here's a nice photo of the sunset. You can see it darkens the landscape to be able to compensate for the sun, but I think overall it's a very nice picture. Then there's a selfie. The selfie camera on this phone is fantastic. There's another selfie. I think it does a great job at interpreting skin tones and contrasting them with the background. Then of course, with videos, if you look back at my YouTube channel, I've actually used this as my camera for most of my YouTube videos. So what you see on my YouTube channel is what you get with this phone. It's a fantastic camera, especially when you set it to 4K 60 FPS like I have for the channel. There's another photo here, of course. You can just see how beautiful it captures the color reproduction between the trees, the grass, and the sky. It's stunning. And then an indoor photo, you can see it starts to struggle a little bit. This isn't the most impressive photo, and there's a lot of detail loss just in the darker sections of the inside of my kitchen. But overall, this is a really impressive camera, and this is coming from the iPhone 13 Pro's camera, which was widely applauded. So you're going to be set on this camera for a long time, and honestly, with any iPhone of late, these cameras have gotten pretty fantastic. Now, one thing to consider about this phone is it's not really small. A lot of people say, oh, this is the small iPhone. This is the one you get if you need a smaller phone. And I don't think it's that small. I've used the iPhone 11 Pro, I've used the iPhone SE, I've used the mini phones, and those are far more comfortable phones to use. But those phones are all dying. Those phones are all reaching the point where you should upgrade. So if you need a smaller phone in 2024, this is about as small as you can get. And that's kind of sad because I have relatively large hands. I'm obviously not the biggest person you've ever seen, but even for me with relatively sized hands as a guy, even I can't reach the top of my screen with my thumb. Even I feel uncomfortable holding this thing, especially with the case on it. So I just have a larger question for phone manufacturers and Apple. When are you gonna make a phone that actually fits in our hands again? Because I don't feel like I'm the only one who's saying this is too big. But in this day and age, this is about as small as you can get, so you have to take what you can get. Now, one thing that is rather impressive about the iPhone 14 is the display. This is a beautiful OLED display, and coming from the iPhone SE, which is my current daily driver, this screen is just fantastic. It's beautiful. And there really isn't much here that is different between this and the iPhone Pro lineup outside of lacking ProMotion. So it's just a beautiful panel, and colors are vibrant, and it's going to impress you if you're coming from an older phone with a less nice display. But there is a very good reason not to buy this phone now in 2024, and that is the iPhone SE 4 is coming out, and supposedly it's going to be $499, and it'll be better than this phone. So this phone is sitting at $699. Correct me if I'm wrong in the comments below, but that price is a lot for this phone now. I would say I would only buy this phone now on the used market if you're getting it for less than $400. Now that we're getting the iPhone SE 4 new for $500 just around the corner, that's going to be a far better purchase than this is. And it sounds like you're not going to miss out on much on that phone outside of not having these two different camera sensors, one of them of course being your ultra wide sensor. So that is the big caveat to this phone and why you probably should skip it in 2024. But that all being said, I have thoroughly enjoyed my time with the iPhone 14. When I first bought it, I was considering between the iPhone 15 Pro and this one. And this one was free with my carrier if I signed a 2-year contract, versus the iPhone 15 Pro, which would have been about $550. And honestly, I don't think $550 justifies the iPhone 15 Pro in comparison to this one. All you're missing out on with the base model iPhone compared to the latest and greatest is ProMotion, more megapixels in your camera, an overall better camera, a brighter display, and better performance. But as I've discussed, I'm a pretty light user on this phone, and I had all day battery life, multiple day battery life, and I enjoyed the screen. I thought it was incredible compared to the iPhone SE that I'm now trying to use, and the performance never held me back. And that is coming from somebody, of course, that is a lighter user. I'm not trying to game, I'm not trying to use the phone all day for social media. I'm a relatively light user, and this phone has been fantastic. So that being said, should you buy the iPhone 14? I say no for now, just because of the iPhone SE 4, but I do give a plug to buying a cheaper iPhone. I don't think you need the iPhone Pro series unless you are someone who just really lives for that nicer technology, you know, the ProMotion display. If that is truly worth the $500 difference that it will be to get, then go for it. But I think for most people, the iPhone 14 and the iPhone SE 4 that's coming out, that'll probably be just like this phone, is a really solid buy, especially if you can get it for even cheaper than $499. So thank you all so much for checking out this video. I really appreciate any of your thoughts, so let me know down below all your comments on the iPhone 14 and on this video. I'm always open to feedback, so I thank you all in advance. Appreciate your time. Peace.